as you get older. So that is something that you will work your way through. So that's the glory of where we are. Meanwhile, at some point, maybe we'll connect with Lake Lewis if we can. It would be after Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast, who is slated to join us around 5:20, 5:25 today here in the Fast Lane. But the NFL draft, there are years where the intrigue of the NFL draft is exciting because you know what you're getting at the star power spots. 2024 was the example. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, 1-2. Both Heisman Trophy winners, both projected to be franchise-altering quarterbacks. They were only 2 years into their tenure, but one of them made the NFC Championship game his rookie year. The other made the NFC Divisional Round his second year and really took a jump with Ben Johnson. I think we have an idea of that. The third pick of quarterbacks out of that bunch made it to the Super Bowl, even though he kind of wilted under the pressure, has still been a really good quarterback in Drake May. And despite all the commentary about his head coach, Mike Vrabel, the guy is a good football coach. So we had all of that. Plus, we had Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, and others. So that draft had a lot of quarterback intrigue. That's the star power that sells the most when it comes to the NFL draft. It will be that way next year. Maybe not all the quarterbacks are going to pan out, but you've got, let's get ready to get our algorithm up as we're back on the stream. Thank you to TJ and Evan for working through that. Arch Manning from Texas. Notre Dame's, notice how I'm emphasizing that again to, get the algorithms. Arch Manning, Notre Dame, all the big ones. But CJ Carr with that. So both of them are really skilled quarterbacks. There will be others that enter that discussion. Dante Moore of Oregon. Many people think he would have challenged for the top pick or at least been the second pick in the draft this year if he had have come out. He did not. So we've got that intrigue next year. This year, the intrigue is positional fit, positional value in the NFL versus the best player. Because a lot of these teams at the top may not need a running back like Jeremiah Love. They may be too far off in their cycle. But is he the best player and is he the best talent? And you grab him anyway and hope you can fill in, or let me be more on top of things, hope you can fill in the other pieces around him. All of that makes it so much more intriguing for those particular picks. Then you've got, linebacker, defensive line, and others, as we mentioned earlier, all of which add up. Meanwhile, when we return here in the Fast Lane, we're going to take a break. When we're going to return, we're going to link up with Bob Alvis at some point. We'll do the Fast Five at 5-ish, topics that have gone on outside of it. Maybe we can get Lake Lewis on later today. It's been a week. It's been a day. So we'll reset when we return here in the Fast Lane on the VTR in Sports app and ask that smart speaker, open VTR in Sports.
We're making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years with the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Hi, Gary the Third here, and I'm excited to say spring has arrived at Gary's Garden Center with great plants and a great selection. Gary's has seasonal color flowers along with vegetables, 60-plus varieties of herbs, perennial flowers, and much more. With friendly service and great advice, we are always happy to answer your questions. Visit Gary's Garden Center at 794 Leesville Road for all your lawn and garden needs. Stop by, say hi, and take a look around.
You walk into a repair shop, hear the price of their estimate, realize they'll take an eternity to get to you, and go, uh-oh, better get Maaco. At Maaco of Lynchburg, they're certified to do repairs on any type of car and for any insurance company because they ultimately answer to you. They'll process through insurance companies or help you pay out of pocket. They don't get better prices to insurance companies than they would for you, because at Mako, it's all about being honest with you. So if your car needs collision repair or paint, go, better get Mako on Kemper Street in Lynchburg.
Are you sick of running your dryer longer just to dry your clothes? It might not be a dying appliance. It might be a clogged up dryer vent. Call Black Goose Chimney Service to find out. Their certified ventilation specialists don't just diagnose chimneys. They also clean dryer vents through the entire ventilation system. Get peace of mind as you're protected from lint clogging your dryer vents, one of the most common causes of house fires. Call Black Goose Chimney Service today and visit blackgoose.net to schedule your dryer vent cleaning.
Ready for a getaway? Whether if it's a beach trip, mountain retreat, or a long-awaited family adventure, Farmers Bank can help you get there. Our vacation loan options offer simple terms and local services you can trust, so you can focus on making memories and not stressing over financing. Life moves fast. Take time to recharge and reconnect. When you're ready to plan your next escape, we're ready to help. Farmers Bank, your community, your bank, your future.
Hey, this is Virginia Tech analyst and former Hokies tight end Mike Burnham. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
So we are back finally on our stream. We might get up with Lake Lewis later today to talk NFL draft. If not, we will give observations on that, plus the big news of the day in Blacksburg, where no, it's not Virginia Tech picking up another football commitment, although they did grab one of those. It's not a basketball transfer edition, although they have one of those as well. It's the retirement at the end of June, the end of the fiscal year, for athletic director Whit Babcock. Plus, thoughts on the latest, yes, there are more, photos for Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel, who is going to be involved in the 2-week one-game suspension, similar to Duke with Grayson Allen, or, my favorite, the suspension of the first quarter or the second game of the college football season against the 1AA school, because the first game is against the marquee opponent. So we need to suspend him, but we're going to do it so we don't actually lose a game. It's amazing how these things work. That's kind of the equivalent going on up in Foxborough. So we'll touch on all of that. A lot of what's going on in spring sports in our area follows a similar pattern in the sense that across the board, from lacrosse to soccer, boys and girls, to baseball, you've got EC Glass and you got Jefferson Forest, who are really strong. LCA is very good, obviously, in the diamond sports, baseball and softball. Appomattox, Amherst has come out really strong in softball. We know about Rustburg and the Bingham family and that legacy that keeps going. So there are some surprises, but we also have some others that are really adding their name to the mix and making it even more intriguing. And we will get into that in about 5 minutes with Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast. So we'll touch on all of those things. But he's brought up an interesting point. And there's something that arose a couple of weeks ago, and I'd love to see this a little bit more. And that is the concept of more teams taking advantage of what the Hill City Howlers, formerly Lynchburg Hillcats, have done in opening up City Stadium when they're on the road, when it's convenient for them, obviously, as it should be, but opening up City Stadium to local high school baseball teams. I think it's great because there's this thing in life about visualizing a goal. And everyone knows that the high school teams playing at City Stadium, good high school teams in our area. But there's a difference between high school, college, minor leagues, and professional. There are a lot of steps you have to continue to take in those. Similarly, I'll equate it to running. You can qualify for the same race that the elites in the world can enter. Boston Marathon was this past weekend. Great example. We had a lot of strong performances from local runners in the area. Zach Knight, Michael Craig, Tyler Schmidt, all great local area runners who all qualified and all ran really well in that particular event. A hat tip to each of y'all if any of y'all are listening live at VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM, or listening back at Fastlane, Ed Lane, however they listen to podcasts, because
and guess what? We keep receipts.
They want to keep receipts right there. But you can do that in a sport like running. You can still participate in the same event as the elites. You can't do the exact same thing in baseball, but you can visualize what it's like by playing in these games at City Stadium. Obviously, it's not, unless it's a playoff game, going to have the same level of festive atmosphere. But they've done a really good job of opening that up. People forget that when the University of Lynchburg, the last couple of years, they've made their runs to the College World Series, getting there a couple of times, bringing home the championship hardware a few years ago, that they played regional games at City Stadium. I think it's awesome. It rewards the stage, yes. It does create a larger venue, so if you can get more attendance, great. I don't know what the gate split, if you will, is between the Howlers and the programs that are playing there, the local high schools or the University of Lynchburg. But the concept behind it is great. I get Liberty's its own deal. Liberty has such fantastic facilities. With all due respect to everyone else, Liberty's facilities are like the Power 5 caliber. So they're already really good. So they don't need to expand to other areas. But if you're a school like the University of Lynchburg, if you're a high school, even financially well-off high schools, you're in a different economic stratosphere. You can have nice stadiums, but the blend of nice plus professional amenities plus capacity, everything that goes into it, it's just different. So you can create that feel for a larger atmosphere. That's really cool. And it's really neat to be able to bring that in. I hope and pray that we get even more of that, and would love to see that to be something that really pops up over time and that we get more of that. The other story, by the way, that we'll discuss with Bob Alvis of the Sports with Hay podcast, as he's going to join us about 5:30 today here in the Fast Lane, is the change that's popped up over at Liberty High School in Bedford. And they've named Justin Waldron the boys basketball coach. If it sounds familiar, it's because he was the girls basketball coach. I know we touched on this the other day. He joins Tyler Goodman, who's going to be the other new Seminole District boys basketball coach. He'll be at Brookville, taking over for Cam Shepard, who good coach, but just kind of had a couple of rough seasons. And I don't know all the dynamics of the changes that happen there. Bob is pretty tied into the Brookville program, very involved, particularly with baseball. And we'll ask him about that too. But the dynamics in Bedford, it's such a unique situation, taking over for John McSweeney and his tragic passing in the latter part of the regular season, that knowing the dynamics of that program, of the players that are returning, and they got a really talented team that's coming back. I think you put them, Glass and LCA once again as favorites in the Seminole District. And they might be better, all of them this year, which means they could all prepare themselves better to be ready for postseason play. I think that's kind of the one gap, is that there's a step that all three of them, Liberty in 2A, LCA in 3, and Glass in 4A, that they can all take as programs. But this is a good step in the right direction for all of them. So just some things to look forward to and things on which to keep your focus, your eyes, and your attention. Meanwhile, we're going to continue our theme of the day here in the Fast Lane, pivoting. We will do the Fast 5 at 5-ish right now. Then we'll get to Bob Alvis of the Sports with Hay podcast. And when we're done with that, that's when we'll get to Exhale 11. Don't worry, there's light at the end of this tunnel of me barking at you and trying to guide us through the technical challenges that, we should have all seen coming this week. But I admire your persistence, and you
will not be deterred
in producing a good show. Have to lighten the mood a little bit. So, Fast 5 at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast 5 at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kinda ish. Let's start with number 5.
Couple nuggets involving the Liberty Flames. 1, basketball player Michael Osei-Bonsu, not from Liberty, but from Missouri State, has entered the NCAA transfer portal. And I had to do a triple take when reading this. Do you remember Michael Osei-Bonsu, by the way, from how he torched Liberty in the Conference USA Tournament quarterfinal game and knocked them out? 25 points, 19 rebounds, but wasn't a good free throw shooter, but Liberty did not foul him enough to really be able to take advantage of it. He is transferring to play football next year. I shouldn't be surprised. He's got size where you could see some level of potential. Apparently, he's got a 35-inch vertical leap, 6'4", 289 pounds. The irony would be if he winds up at Liberty to play football. Legit. This is the type of guy that I could see Bill Durkin taking a flyer on as the offensive line coach at Liberty and going, hey, he's got some great size, 6'4", 290. You can easily add 10 to 15 pounds of athletic muscle and get him to 300 pounds, and you can put him on the offensive line. You can put him on the defensive line. I think Liberty's defensive line room could benefit from someone like that. They're totally retooling their defensive staff. But I would be surprised at all if a school in our backyard says, you know what, let's take a flyer on this guy. Missouri State, by the way, does have football. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. Bobby Petrino's son is coaching at Missouri State. For all the warts on the Petrino family, they are very well documented and justifiably so. He's had some similar Mike Vrabel type instances of his own. Granted, likes him a little bit younger, college age. But his son coaches at Missouri State. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think Osei Bonsu is the type of guy where if you're a big program and you could just flat out get better, more developed talent with similar athleticism, your Texases, your Georgias, your Ohio States, I don't see a way they're taking a flyer on him. But a Missouri State, a Liberty, or someone else, why not? I don't begrudge the guy at all for trying to take a year and see if he can go at football. We've seen it with tight ends, Mo Alley Cox from VCU to the NFL draft. Obviously, Antonio Gates from Kent State. Alley Cox is with the Colts. Kent State to the San Diego, now LA Chargers with what's his name? Gates, the tight end. So we've seen these type of transitions. We haven't really seen it the other way. Obviously, the one question is being physical in basketball is entirely different from football where it's all a collision sport. But it's kind of a cool story, and it's at least we're following.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I remember him being, like you said, a pretty big guy. It'll be interesting to see how he transitions from basketball to football, both sports and physical sports.
Speaking of the transfer portal,
Number 4.
we haven't gotten to this one. Mo Johnson, Kamora Johnson, withdrew her name from the transfer portal and returning to Virginia. Just worth noting. I mean, you're looking at someone who averages like 19 to 20 points a game, 4 to 5 rebounds a game, 6 assists a game, 2 steals a game. I mean, she's such a versatile piece. For Aaron Roussel, that's the key player to add to the program. I know it's an add back, but when you're going through a coaching change, and it seemed like there were a lot of negative experiences that led Mo Johnson and some of her other teammates to enter the portal, a couple of whom have also joined her and coming back. That's the biggest get for Virginia and Aaron Roussel this offseason. They need to add more pieces to supplement and be able to take that next step of not just being a team that can make the Sweet 16 of the NCAAs, but could also contend more regularly with the top half of the ACC teams. But the start is adding one of the best players. I mean, there were rumors that South Carolina was going to go after her, and South Carolina just picked up a top 10 recruit in women's basketball today, whose name escapes me conveniently, but they added that. So it looks like they were looking to upgrade. You can withstand it. I think it's a cool thing for Virginia that they were able to retain her services. Meanwhile, another, in case you missed it,
Number 3.
the future of Live Golf is in question, as it looks like PIF, private investment fund of Saudi Arabia, is looking at the prospect of pulling funding for the 4-year-old Rebel League. I mean, if PIF doesn't want to fund it, what future is there for this league? The whole point of the league was sports washing. Let's call a spade a spade. It was sports washing. To be able to allow Saudi Arabia to use sports as a way for people to not really look at their human rights records. If they decide they don't want to fund it, there is no Live Golf. Like, they literally were funded as a loss leader. They were going to lose money on it, but the lead is people stop criticizing and paying attention to their other ventures, and they have a chance to show their might athletically. And, it takes years to build that type of loyalty up, so I'm not surprised that that's what you would ultimately get. But, look, I think at some point this was an inevitable decision. Meanwhile,
Number 2.
Liberty, 10-4 lead. They took one into the bottom of the 7th inning yesterday before holding on against number 13, Virginia Tech, 10-9 in softball. Meanwhile, baseball, 4-3 loss up at Virginia. Kind of an interesting tale of things. I don't think for Liberty, either of these outcomes has a major impact on their NCAA tournament resumes for their Diamond Sports. Virginia Tech has hit a little bit of a skid. They lost 2 of 3 to Georgia Tech. Now they drop one to Liberty. It may ding the Hokies from hosting a super regional or even being able to host. I would doubt a regional. I think they can rally from that. But, you're number 13 and you lost to Liberty, and this is not a banner year for the Lady Flames. I think it could ding you when you're considering the super regionals. That's as of now. There's still time left in the regular season, about a month or so, plus the conference tournament, to be able to rally and get back forward for Virginia Tech. And they have a strong non-conference resume. Meanwhile, for Liberty, I don't think it affects them, softball, because Liberty already had this is not the best year for them. They are second place in Conference USA softball, so they've come around, and they are showing with this win. It's another example. You're winning 2 of 3 series regularly over the weekend, that they are playing their best ball. But this is, I think people had higher expectations because of what they did last year getting the super regionals, when in reality, this has been more of a transition year for the Flames softball team. Meanwhile, we'll pivot off of that into and look at Liberty baseball losing to Virginia. Similar theme from that loss. I don't think it dings Liberty a ton from their NCAA tournament resumes. I mean, you get a series win against Dallas Baptist over the weekend, which I think you'd like to beat Virginia, but you've got some marquee wins. You've beaten Virginia Tech twice in baseball. I know they're not great. You've beaten Duke in baseball, NC State. You've got some better looking wins. That would have been a good one because Virginia, I know they're in the skids on baseball, but they're still a top 25 caliber team. Virginia needed a rally, kind of put the brakes on that, and they really need to show that and continue that momentum against Pitt this coming weekend. But for Liberty, they've got enough on the plate where I don't think it totally dings them from a resume standpoint. And again, you want to be in the finals of the Conference USA softball or baseball tournament against either a Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, or against Dallas Baptist. You want to be playing some of those premier level baseball teams. Meanwhile, we'll take a break. Then Bob Alvis of the Sports Today podcast will talk high school sports when we return here in the Fast Lane. We are getting our act together. And then when we're done with Bob, we'll give some NFL draft thoughts when we return on the VTR in Sports app and ask that smart speaker, open VTR in Sports.
The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, new or older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on the Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit and easy on the Motor. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
Midday hunger hitting hard? Swing by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday lunch specials. Whether you're craving a classic crunch or something fresh, we've got you covered. Chicken tender basket featuring crispy golden tenders served with fries. The Macadoo's Chef Salad. The healthy, loaded favorite to hit the spot. Hit back against your lunchtime hunger at Macadoo's with eats that won't break the bank.
Time to share great food and fun. Just to be there the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Goose.
What do high-performing athletes have in common? They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. The best competitors have a strong mental support system that keeps them focused, confident, and at the top of their game. Want that same support in your own life? Central Virginia Counseling can help. No matter what life throws your way, our team is here for you with 2 Lynchburg locations on Wigington Road and Timberlake Road and telehealth available anywhere in Virginia. Take the first step today. Visit centralvirginiacounseling.com.
If you own a diesel truck or diesel fleet, it's time to go Wicked and get serviced for the spring. And when you go Wicked, take 25% off your service request for a limited time. Wicked Diesel in Bedford will allow 25% off a transmission flush, coolant flush, oil change, differential service, or AC service. Your choice. Just tell Josh you want that 25% off service special. Download the coupon at wickeddieselva.com. Need diesel repair? Go Wicked.
Plenty of large insurance companies know something. If you're injured in an auto accident, it can feel overwhelming. They've defended themselves in thousands of personal injury cases while you've never been there. Thankfully, I have. Hi, I'm Dustin Rosser with Trost Law. I began my legal career defending insurance companies before joining Trost Law. I know how insurance companies think and how to navigate the complex legal system. So if you're injured and need someone to fight for you, just call me at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com.
Hi, this is Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech men's basketball. You're listening to the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
You know, in the spirit of today, I've just got to ask this of Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Can you hear me?
I've been answered. I can hear you, Bob. It's been one of those weeks. So in the spirit of these weeks and these days, we just got to get the painful technical stuff right out of the way. And I know it makes for great radio, and it would get program directors everywhere so excited to hear us discuss it. But if you've been listening, you already know that we've gone through it. And if not, and you just want to go back and listen at Fastlane, Ed Lane on any podcast platform, you can, because right there, as Coach Prime would like to remind us. So we're transparent about our flaws in the Fast Lane.
I have flaws all over the place, so I'll be transparent as possible. I think I am the human flaw.
You know, I wouldn't go that far. I think I'm probably a better example of that than you are, Bob, especially given how I've handled situations today and every day. You know, when God wants you to learn something, he just keeps throwing the same test at you again and again. And I feel like I fail that test all the time.
If we take a vote, I am sure that I will win best human flaw. So
I don't know. We could do that. You know, it's not impossible at Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I will say this, though, for the prayer warriors out there that pray when they hear us, because I'm sure there are some of them, and I am so grateful for those people, because they're the ones that while I'm trying to troubleshoot something, I've been there before where I've seen it happen, and it's worked. It doesn't work all the time, and certainly doesn't always work on my time. But that is one of the saving graces, no doubt, Bob.
Oh, welcome to my life. I agree with you.
My man, Bob Alvis of the Sports with Hay podcast with us here in the Fast Lane. Pivoting off of that, we had a couple of topics that we discussed earlier before we were able to link up with you. One of those topics that we discussed is surrounding basketball, Liberty basketball in particular. They make a unique transition because of what's going on in their basketball program. We can get to the two new coaches for Seminole District boys basketball in just a moment. But the obvious one being that Justin Waldron shifts from being the girls basketball coach to the boys basketball coach at Liberty. How much does the uniqueness of that situation with John McSweeney's tragic passing play into why that's a good decision?
I mean, it's weird because I got a phone call the other day, and it was from Coach Waldron saying, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you I'm the new Liberty boys basketball coach." And normally I don't get calls from people saying, "Hey, guess what? The new coach?" Well, it's me. And that's kind of what happened. I think it's going to turn out well. I think a lot of people have questions. Where does Liberty go after Aiden Padgett is done? Aiden Padgett will be a senior this coming year. But I think for the immediate future, obviously it's a good sign. And I think you want stability. You kind of hit on it, but I think you want stability in a job. Coach Waldron did know the guys being an employee out at Liberty High School. So from that point, I think it's definitely a good thing to keep some stability.
So you referenced that element of stability being something that's big for the Liberty Minutemen basketball program. You know Justin Waldron a lot better than I do. How does he provide that for a program that did an admirable job, the Minutemen boys basketball program, of playing and giving their best and trying to stay as locked in over the rest of the season, but now going through an offseason where you can start that grief process while also trying to recover and rebuild?
Well, I mean, Coach Waldron, obviously having coached in the girls, does have X's and O's knowledge. Like so many coaches in the Seminole, he's a film warrior to where he's watching a ton of film. I think the main thing for kids nowadays is, even you talk about the portal with the college stuff, you want to feel loved as a athlete, as a kid. And I think it's got to start at a youth level, really, but it's got to be continued at the high school level, because if you've just got a screamer and you look over to the sidelines, and I know we talked about it because I made a post about body language. If the body language of a coach is just negative all the time, what are you as the player or kid going to think?
Yeah, it's going to translate over to that. And it's that fine line of pushing them while also understanding that you're in that spot where you may have a lot of stuff that's going on. And I can imagine as well, Bob, for Liberty, and I know it's Justin Waldron transitioning from girls to boys basketball over there, but if you're making that transition, again, sometimes people would say, well, it shows the boys basketball program is more prioritized than the girls. I disagree with that. I think a lot of this is there's a value of having someone that knows what it's like to be a head coach during the emotional roller coaster of an off season and season. And then you're trying to replicate that, particularly like you mentioned with young men that, you're grappling with everything. The emotions are everywhere, not to mention you're still a high school kid.
I'll agree with both sides, because I think a lot of people do have more of an interest in boys basketball than girls basketball. However, in this case, you're still having to fill a job. I mean, it's not like you just cured all the ills of the world by saying, oh, we're going to hire the girls basketball coach, all done. No, now you've got to fill a job on the girls basketball coach realm. The only thing I can kind of compare this to is back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when high school basketball for girls transitioned from fall to winter. You would find some people, especially in the Dogwood district that I know of close to home, that would coach boys and girls. Obviously, you can't do that in the winter because you can't be in two places at the same time. But I think it's not totally unheard of, but it is a little bit different in terms of, hey, this guy coached our girls team last winter. Guess what? This winter he's coaching our boys team. That's a little different.
Is there a natural timing, though, with this transition, given that there's been a lot of talent that has departed the girls basketball program, including Shania Brown, and so the girls basketball program was going to be primed for more of a reset tenure anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big problems is when you're losing able bodies in a community, it's a struggle to put together a team because you didn't even have a JV girls basketball team at Liberty this past year. There's a lot of sports now in the spring to where you either don't have a JV or in some cases you don't have a varsity. And I think a lot of athletic directors are wanting to pull their hair out on that. But I think in terms of, the timing and, is it weird or whatnot? I mean, it's different. That's for sure. But I don't think it's, the most, I don't think the hiring powers at Liberty went to a hat and just pulled out a name and said, oh, all right, well, now we got to hire a girls basketball. I think it was well thought out. And I always think any head coaching experience is going to be better than no head coaching experience in my eyes.
Bob Alvis, the Sports Buffet podcast, with us here in the Fast Lane, and it's great to be chatting with him. We are super excited to have this moment to be able to connect with him, Bob. Pivoting off of Liberty basketball to the other change in the Seminole District where Tyler Goodman takes over for Cam Shepard over at Brookville. You're around that program a lot. Take us inside that decision-making.
I think it's kind of a seamless transition in the way of anytime you boost one person up a seat from an assistant to a head, you don't have the headache of going out and hiring. But at the same time, Brookville did not enjoy immense success last year in the boys' realm. Now you're bringing the assistant coach who did not have great success. Well, what can he do? Coach Shepard heading to Richmond to coach, so it's not like he just got kicked out the door and is eating at the food pantry. But I think Coach Goodman has some good ideas. And, we can talk and talk, but until that first practice and that first game and even spring league gets underway, how are the kids going to adjust to hearing either a new voice or the voice that they heard to maybe make subtle adjustments is now the voice?
Big change. It's a major adjustment when you're going through that process. And you mentioned all of those dynamics as Bob Alvis is with us here in the Fast Lane. Bob, pivoting off of that now, looking at spring sports, one thing that we touched on, you were going to touch on this a couple of weeks ago, and then just time kind of got the best of us, and that's that transition of where you've been with the Hill City Howlers. Over the years, they have been willing, even when they were the Lynchburg Hillcats, to allow area teams to use City Stadium in which to play baseball games. I'll give you a blank canvas to kind of go in whatever direction you want on that. But do you like that? Do you not like it? What's your take on that?
It's always scary to give me a blank canvas. But my first announcing job of any type, I was, I think, a junior or senior. Well, maybe my second. I was a junior or senior in high school, and I announced for the Lynchburg American Legion post-16 team who played at City Stadium back when City Stadium was a lot different than what it is now. But I think for a Ronnie Roberts Classic to be held there, Chris Jones, I think, had great communications with the high school coaches. Matt Ramstad and Lincoln Evans, who are over there now, do. But it all starts with ownership as well. And I think when you can get your general manager on board and your owners say, hey, it's okay to do this, I think it's a win-win because, A, it also helps your staff get ready for their, long season. It's a marathon over for the Howlers, not a sprint. And I also think it gets the kids, hey, we get to play on, quote, a big field, which most people in high school are playing on a chain link fence, not a wall that's got sponsors all over it and everything. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
That's a good thing and a good way to look at it. Is Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast is with us here in the Fast Lane. What impact does it have on local teams when they get to play in a place like that?
I think it just it gives them an opportunity to play on a big field. And, when you go to regionals or state, or if you ever have to go to a game that's played either at a minor league park or even a college field, I think you're more used to it because I've never played high school baseball, but I would think there's a big difference running back to a chain link fence and running back to a wall that's going to have maybe a little give. Obviously, all these places have warning tracks, but I think that's kind of a little bit of a give. Plus, I know when I was a kid and I would go to a, quote, big stadium, you kind of get that, that awe a little bit. Like, wow, I'm here this is where the minor league team plays in my city, or the professional team, or however you want to look at it. And it's got to be a thrill, I would think, for any high school kid, especially a younger high school kid. I think some kids can get maybe jaded by the time they get older, but I think freshmen and sophomores, I really think have that, that love and appreciation. But for juniors and seniors too, it's got to be cool because, hey, A, I'm getting away from my normal field. B, I'm getting to play on a field where professionals that are getting paid to play baseball play.
Yeah, it just adds a different level of hype and excitement around those particular events. Bob Alvis of the Sports with A podcast is stopping by with us here in the Fast Lane. Speaking of those local baseball teams right now, you had a chance to see Jefferson Forest against Brookville the other day. It wasn't a big victory in terms of margin for Jefferson Forest. Kind of felt like it was a close game throughout. How close are the Bees now to JF?
I think the problem, well, I shouldn't say a problem, but I don't think anybody is ever going to feel sorry for Ryan Gillen, Jeremy Hughes, and Jefferson Forest because they have like 500 pitchers and other places have 2 or 3. The fact that the Cavaliers can just roll arms out there, and they develop these arms. I mean, they have a B team, they have a JV team, and I think everybody's getting used to pitching at a younger level, but that's an advantage that the Cavaliers have that other teams don't. But everybody's offense has kind of come back to earth, shall we say. I mean, everybody had that, one hammer hitter. And I'm not saying 3, 4, and 5 spots in the order aren't still scary and potent, but they're probably not what they used to be in terms of you don't have the Wes Clarks around anymore. You don't have that guy that can, put it across the street and then some in all cases. But I think pitching is going to help Jefferson Forest throughout. And Brookville's got some good arms too. Bryce Tolbert, Mason Coleman. I mean, Amherst has got a good arm with J.J. Davis, who's committed to University of Virginia. Everybody's got that one good arm, but the question is, do you have 2 or 3? Because when you get into situations to where you have to play back-to-back, it's not softball to where you can throw the same arm out there all the time.
That's good, and it brings us into a transition over to softball with Bob Alvis of the Sports with A podcast, who's with us here in the Fast Lane. We spend a lot of time talking about Rustburg and Appomattox. We certainly did last week. The Amherst Lancers, are they one of the bigger surprises to you in softball this year?
The Amherst Lancers are really swinging the bats well. Drew Ware has done a good job out there in Amherst County of getting that team fit. And, it's funny because there is no off night in the Seminole District, but I remember watching Amherst and Brookville this year, and you're used to softball being like, 2-1 with a lot of small ball, a lot of bunts. I want to say there were like 5 home runs hit that night. And I said to people, I'm like, is this normal? Because Amherst swung the bat really well. Brookville also swung the bat well. But, with equipment and strength and the way things are going, it's easier to have big flies rather than short hits. But I think Amherst really has a lot going for them in a good direction because I think they know how to win. They've got experience all over the place on the mound, well, I should say in the circle, on the infield, on the outfield. And their younger players, I think, are really contributing. So I think Amherst could be a team to watch in Division IV as we crawl through the postseason.
Bob Alvis of the Sports with A podcast is stopping by with us here in the Fast Lane. Bob, great to speak with you. Thank you very much for maintaining some level of sanity for us, preserving some level of sanity, and for giving us a little bit of your time as well today here in the Fast Lane.
Hey, next time we need to talk about best players that could have played football and basketball or something like that at the next level, because I heard Mo Alley Cox, and I just got the jitters going.
Oh, my goodness. What do you remember about him then?
Well, Mo Alley Cox was a beast at VCU, and I think, I've always heard that people would say Allen Iverson was a better football player than he was a basketball player, because I think it was E.C. Glass who had to play Bethel back in the day, and Allen Iverson was just a phenomenal athlete. You always hear about the LeBron James. If LeBron James had played football, how good would he have been? I'll tell you, I think the one person that could have played both in college and been fairly decent at both of them is Logan Thomas. A lot of people are going to say Juan Thornhill, and don't get me wrong, Juan was an incredible athlete. If you've got a Super Bowl ring and you're making SportsCenter top 10 for dunks, that's really good. But I think Logan Thomas really could have played both at Virginia Tech. Jeff King did it, and I'm not trying to knock anybody that's done the double, and I'm not trying to knock anybody that's gone like Mo Alley Cox or Antonio Gates from pros to college. But to play two sports is quite a commitment, but you just got to wonder who could have been the best around here that could have done it. Logan might be one of those guys that could have played both on a D1 college level.
It's amazing that you just casually glossed over Juan Thornhill's SportsCenter top 10 dunk as though that's just kind of a secondary accomplishment in all this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, doesn't everybody make a SportsCenter top 10 dunk all the time?
Of course, all the time. It's a normal thing, Bob. What else do you know?
I know very little, actually. Very little, but I always appreciate the Fast Lane having me on. Technical, untechnical, whatever difficulties we have, we get through it.
Yes, we do. We have powered through it with Bob Alvis of the Sports with Him podcast here in the Fast Lane. Bob, thank you for joining us today. We almost made it to the end.
Have a good one, Ed.
Bob Alvis with us here in the Fast Lane as we wrap up our chat with him today. And now we get ready to go into one of the more amusing elements of this upcoming season, which let me know when you're ready and have got Bob cleared because it's the NFL draft tonight. What do you think you know, Evan?
Well, not a lot. It's the NFL draft. Anything can happen. But, the draft starts at 2 because Fernando Mendoza will be the number 1 pick. And so, I'm really interested to see what the Jets do if the Cardinals, they might move back. The Browns might move back. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of movement in this, at least this top 10, because like you said at the opening of the show, there's not a lot of like quarterbacks, wide receivers. It's all kind of like the defensive ends, the offensive linemen, so a lot of those non-premium positions are going to be super high. So I think we'll see some movement.
I think you'll get a lot of it. Maybe not as much as people expected, and it may start to come in the middle rounds of the draft because, I mean, how often do we get the idea that trades are going to happen? But then we also hear that teams don't want to trade 2027 picks because those are deemed to be much more valuable. So do you really want to take less than normal value if you're in one of those higher picks, or do you want to just roll the dice that you're going to go with the best football player, even if he's at non-premium position or a spot that maybe doesn't match up with where your needs are?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always for like taking players, not positions. And so, you have a guy like Jeremiah Love, who's arguably the best player in this class. If you're the Cardinals at 3 or Titans at 4 or Giants at 5, you might as well just take him. And because, trading multiple first-round picks, people don't usually do. I mean, think of the Max Crosby deal that happened. That didn't go through, and that had multiple first-round picks. So
you're getting quite a bit of that as well. I think you'll get some. Do we get 2 quarterbacks in the first round?
I do. I think Ty Simpson will probably be at the very end. I think someone trades back up to get him potentially. I've also randomly heard Carson Beck as a potential late first rounder. I don't know if that's just like draft smoke, but I do think we probably will get 2.
I think you'll get at least 2. Should there be? I'm not really big on Ty Simpson. He's the type of guy I'd rather take in the 2nd or 3rd round so that if he doesn't look like he's the guy, you can just move on from him in a year or 2. And I know that sounds cold, but this is a business and they're already making money in college. So that's part of it. There are a couple of late developments that have popped up. Betting market is really starting to suggest maybe it is Arvell Reese at number 2 to the Jets. He's jumped from -149 to -218 within the last 10 minutes or so. So sometimes this late movement, that's when you start to get an idea that, okay, it's leaked out. Somebody knows something, like a couple of years ago with the whole CJ Stroud to go 2nd, Will Anderson to go 3rd. That kind of leaked out about an hour and a half before the draft, like 6:30 p.m. Eastern when it starts at 8. Maybe this is too soon. Maybe the movement kind of stops. But when you start to look at that, that's often one of the telltale signs that things are starting to crystallize. Where it gets dicey for me is the further back you go. That's where you start to wonder what exactly is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of generally the players that will be probably within the first 10 picks. But then, like you said, once you get down, anything can happen. It's kind of hard to make an accurate prediction because there's a lot of good players down the board. And I'm very interested to see which route teams go. Find out what happens.
Fascinating to see that indeed. Certainly intrigued. Do you have you have no rooting interest tonight because your team is the Bengals and they just traded for the draft. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm curious what the Giants get out of it. I really hope Jeremiah Love gets scooped up before number 5 because I think the Giants would rush to the podium. And if it's not them, I think he's a perfect fit for the Washington Commanders at 7. I don't think he makes it that far. I think it's worth a stab. Something makes me want to go, I don't think Daniel Jeremiah has been looking to nail every pick like he's done in prior years with his, mock draft exercise. It seems like it's been more of a thought exercise than an actual projection exercise. And I am kind of curious if that's going to bear itself out as we look forward with this draft or look back. Like, he has the Browns going with tackle at number 6. I've heard people say maybe it's Caden Proctor, maybe it's Monroe Freeling, who are more high upside guys because it's such an analytics-based department. None of that would surprise me. We have time. Plug the music up, by the way, for us here so we can get ready to get out of here. Nope. Yep. We will have the draft for you live tonight. 8 p.m. is when it gets underway. Coverage leading up to it right here on the VTR and Sports app at 93.3 FM. Thanks for listening to the Fast Lane on VTR and Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM, WVGM Lynchburg.
This is Sports Center. I'm Chad Ryder. The first round of the NFL Draft is tonight, taking place in Pittsburgh. The Giants have the 5th and 10th overall picks. What will New York do? ESPN NFL Draft analyst Jordan Reed.